It's been a while since we all worked together, but we had.
I haven't even done the intro yet, and Brooke just takes over. She asked me before we even started. She's like, "Do we have any topics? We just gonna fly by the seat of our pants?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fly by the seat of her pants." And as soon as I hit record, she just jumps right on top of it.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for this shit. Um, so let's take it way back to what 2008, 2009.
2008, 2009, yeah.
What are some of the things that stand out when we worked together at Iowa Central? I think like one of the first things that we all did together with us and B Brown was we had to prepare for like a regional time trial, and we had to take an Iowa Central van out to like the Kennedy Park area, and the van seriously had like the floor, like you could literally see the road through the floor.
That thing was like a cardboard box with wheels, and that's exactly what it felt like. Oh my goodness. Too bad I can't hear you.
Now we can see you but not hear you, Brooke. Now you're just moving like Max Headroom.
I can hear you.
Oh, phew.
But yeah, I mean, Brooke, you were there before both me and Floyd. Then I think I was hired before Floyd, and then you came like a few weeks after me. I think that's what it was. Because if D didn't find a throws coach, I was actually going to start off with the throws before he got somebody. I remember that. That's pretty much it. But Brooke came in with all this energy. Then as soon as her mic shut off, she just stopped.
I'm sorry. Technical difficulties are killing my vibe right now.
The main thing I remember is just, because when we were there, it was right as the program was starting to get to a really high level. I mean, he'd already had success, but it was just when there was a lot of solid athletes in there, but it was still kind of in its infancy. Because remember, I had to do pole vault practice. What was it? 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, over at the YMCA.
The Ace, baby.
And then that's 8. Yeah, I forgot the name of it.
The Ace.
And then I taught 2 classes in the morning at 8:00. And then Brooke would always come to my office, make fun of me because I had the same pair of jeans just laying on the floor for like 5 months.
I have a follow-up story with that. Do you guys remember when we were supposed to go to an indoor meet? I want to say we were supposed to go to like Luther College, and the weather was trash, and we decided not to go. And there was like some sort of music competition going on at Iowa Central, and they were using our offices as practice rooms. So we're all in the cafeteria sitting at a round table, and Greg says something like, "Oh man, I hope my pants don't smell too bad in my office, my dirty pants."
I honestly don't remember that.
Well, I do, because like we all just looked at each other like, "Oh, did he just say that?" And I was like, "Why? Did you poop your pants and you left them in the office?"
No, I would always have jeans at practice, and then I would change into khakis when I was teaching. So I would just leave the pair of jeans in my office. Makes sense to me.
So those are your poop pants.
Sure, if you want to call them my poop pants, Brooke.
Yes, you leave the poop pants in the office.
But no, I remember as soon as all 3 of us kind of got along right away when we got there. I mean, Floyd and I were training. We were training pretty good all the way through that fall until the meet started, and then we just got tired.
As fuck.
Yeah. And then Brooke was just in her own little distance runner world.
Yep, racking up those miles,
And then the one, what was it? Indoor nationals where I was like dying of the flu. Yeah, it was. It was in Lubbock, Texas. That's right.
I took you to get some medicine, remember?
I think Brooke said something like, she said something to Floyd like, he just needs to have extreme vomiting or explosive diarrhea and get him out of his system. I think that's what she ended up saying. That was bad. I remember I felt awful. I was just taking, Advil all morning before the second day of the meet. It was brutal.
I don't know, man. You look like you enjoyed yourself when you got the medicine I recommended.
I don't know what you're talking about. I only drink water. And hot tea.
I remember taking a walk and thinking we were in the middle of like a Hell's Angels meeting.
Yeah.
I'm like,
don't you remember the dude with the cowboy hat comes up to you and he's like, you a big fellow, you know, what you do? And we're like, track coach. Because you had me walk in the building first. You're like, I don't know if they like my kind of people. And you said, Greg, go in there first. And a guy in a cowboy hat goes, oh, you a track coach? You throw that shot put, don't you? And you're like, yeah. He's like, and you spin. You don't do that slide. It turned out he was a high school pole vault coach in Texas.
Yeah, that actually was a good time, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
That was a very friendly group of people in that.
They were teaching you how to Texas two-step.
So, definitely don't judge a book by its cover.
And one of the more fun times was going to Colorado Springs for that strength symposium.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Going hiking. We went to the training center out there.
You two went hiking.
You saw a dog and went back to your car.
F that.
That's when we found out that Floyd has a little bit of a fear of dogs.
Yeah, man, you know, I don't really do the canines, but
because Brooke and I just looked at you and were like, Floyd, you realize it's like a 3-hour hike. We're gonna be 3 hours before we get back here.
Yeah, I walked about how far I usually walk to retrieve my shot, and then I turned right back around and walked to the car. You know?
So, I mean, all three of us, I mean, I had 2 coaching jobs before there, but Floyd, that was your first gig.
Yeah,
was that your second? Or you were a GA before that also too, weren't you?
I wasn't a GA, so I was a volunteer assistant at UW La Crosse while I was in grad school, and then I had 1 year of coaching over at Wartburg. So this Iowa Central one was kind of like, ooh, I can get paid for this? What? I mean, I guess I did get paid at Wartburg, but not while I was in grad school.
Yeah, I was a GA, and then I was part-time at Valpo, and then I came over to Iowa Central. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. It was a learning experience because, you know, I was a D3 throws coach, and then Valpo, they had a couple good jumpers, and then all of a sudden I have, you know, some studs in the jumps at Iowa Central, and had to kind of learn under fire at that point. But no, it's exciting to see how much success they've been having just year after year.
For sure. I hope they don't have to deal with like recruiting someone internationally and having a giant letdown. Because I remember that happened to us a couple times. Like one of the first things that I had to do when I was hired was I was told I needed to drive to Des Moines, which is about an hour and a half from Fort Dodge, to pick up a Kenyan girl from the airport. And I took some other Kenyans with me, you know, welcome crew. And we went to the airport, and the people are getting off the plane, and she's not there. And I was like, oh my goodness, D. Brown, what the heck do I do? And so he immediately like gets on the computer, he's double checking flights and everything. And something had happened. There was a mix up. So we went home, and then I went back and got her. I think it was the next day. And she was getting a hefty chunk of change. And we saw her run the first cross-country meet. Greg, I think you were there. And I want to say this person got dead last in a cross-country meet on a significant amount of athletic scholarship money. And I think everyone was extremely disappointed in that. And I believe at one point in indoor season, Coach Brown told her, hey, just don't come to practice anymore.
It's tough because certain countries, you know, Europe's really good about reporting their times, but there's certain countries that just, there's no way to verify anything. You have to know the coach is there, or you have to go in person and recruit. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not getting funding to fly to, you know, countries hours and hours away. So you have to go by just volume like if you recruit 15, 20 runners from an area, maybe 4 or 5 will pan out. But I mean, I'm inundated with emails on a daily basis from athletes. Coach, going to get a scholarship. This is what I run. And I'm like, do I add 3 minutes of this time? Do I add 5 minutes? I don't really know.
You got to lay off those random emails from foreign countries in broken English, man. They don't usually.
I get Facebook messages too.
I do too.
Just randomly.
All the time. You know, if I had a penny for every time a guy emails me or Facebook messages me because he runs a 24-minute 8K, just needs scholarship now. You know,
yeah,
he's a very wealthy man. But,
yeah. And I've worked with coaches that, you know, either under me or newer coaches that get so excited every time they get one of those emails. I'm like, give it 2 months. You're going to get 50 more of them. And maybe 1 or 2 of them are true. I mean, there's just such huge training groups there that, yeah, that training group, that might be an elite training group, but there's 150 kids in it and maybe only 10 are actually elite. You never really know. So what do you guys think is kind of like the one thing that worries me is the kind of future of track and field? I mean, with all these programs kind of falling by the wayside, I mean, with me, you know, our sport's kind of been treated as, you know, just admissions, driving admissions and things like that. And, you know, I think some of that falls on us as coaches that we need to, you know, kind of preach the value of our sport more than we really do sometimes, rather than just say, hey, we're here for admissions for everybody. Because I think that's why a lot of these programs are falling. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that type?
oh man, it's just a thing that kind of concerns me. You know, it's already a profession where you know, kind of with due to kind of niche programs and niche coaching that, you know, the opportunities are scarce enough, but then programs are losing their wheels left and right. I don't know if I have the answers, but just I agree with you. We need some way to not only show the value of our sport, but show the value of us as employees to the institutions. You know, I think we've kind of been seen as extendable in a dime a dozen, you know, just because of the scarcity of opportunities. And I think the actual skills that we possess, I kind of just devalue to undervalue. You know, you just talked about it, dealing with admissions, recruiting. You know, the amount of time that you're gonna spend with a kid when they get on campus. You know, absent of your actual coaching duties, I mean, you're doing all type of things from academic advising, counseling, and whatnot. And those are skills that are just kind of ignored by our institutions that we possess. You know? So it's just kind of scary, man.
What do you think, Brooke?
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything that Floyd said. You know, I mean, I would be scared to death to work at a mid-major D1 right now, because with the whole Title IX thing, you know, they're more likely to cut men's track, men's cross country versus women's. But, you know, that's not fair. I think if a school has track and cross country, I think it should be both men and women. And, I mean, football drives revenue, but the problem is this year, you know, they're not letting as many people into the football games, so the schools aren't making as much money, and so they're starting to cut other things, and it's really unfortunate. I mean, it's happening all over, like, you know, Power 5, mid-major, you know, smaller schools are honestly, I think smaller schools are actually doing better as far as retaining track and cross country, because they know sports bring athletes in, and athletes help drive enrollment.
Yeah, and that's why I don't buy the whole revenue thing. Like when some of these schools are saying we're going to save $5 million by doing this or whatnot, I'm like, no. I mean, track programs bring in revenue through admissions, and most track budgets are not that big for having 6 sports across the entire year. So the whole idea that the revenue isn't there, just, I don't agree with, and I think that's just an excuse personally. But I mean,
I just hate the fact that they, manipulate a rule that was designed to provide opportunities. They manipulate it to stay balanced, so to speak, and you actually getting rid of opportunities for people. I mean, I hate that they manipulate that rule,
and
I don't know
think
what
about the opportunities that you get from track. I mean, not just because of how diverse the rosters are, just people from every walk of life are on a track and field team. But, I'm not going to, I have to swear to say it, but think of all the kids that come in and people think are just shitheads that turn around and have success in college just by having the right coach and somebody to mentor them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we've all had these kids that come in that people think were losers or people think are this or that, and sometimes they just lack the discipline, and track kind of instills that in them, because you can't just, decide to do track as a hobby. The first time you do a workout doing, 10 by 800 or something, if you're a distance runner, or a hard tempo or a hard speed endurance workout, I mean, there's no way to just do that, and I think that's the benefit of it. It instills some discipline and some work ethic in kids that people thought were just going to fall by the wayside.
And also, in addition to that, I mean, it's really the first time a lot of young people really get to spend a lot of time with an adult, really get to see, how they go through their daily lives, and really get a chance to get some like advice and mentorship, because I mean, you have coaches in high school who, I'm not dismissing them or discounting the job they do, but the amount of time that some kids get to spend with an adult or mentor is just not been, they've not had that access to a mentor in another setting like that, and that matures a lot of kids, so.
Sometimes, yeah, they just need that mentor. And that's why I think the positions are so important. And tough part for me sometimes is finding assistant coaches like that. If somebody's just treating it like a hobby, they're just going to show up for practices and leave and not really be a fixture. That's where things get difficult. I don't know. Well, speaking of that, one thing I liked, Floyd watched the one strength and conditioning talk, and he gave me some compliments saying just how much he thinks I've grown since I first started doing this thing. When I would, get in a fight at the drop of a hat, not saying physical fights, but, sometimes, but, and just how much I've matured, which I really appreciated, because, that's one thing that really held me back early in my career, was kind of my temper. And that was just me being insecure and, embarrassed and being an idiot. But where do you think you guys have grown the most since, 11 years ago, 12 years ago?
Probably the same. I say, working with you guys, I was at a point fresh out of school where I maybe wouldn't speak up, or I had my opinion and I wouldn't voice it. And, over the last 12 years, I had my phase where I was the hothead, where, I get defensive over, my style of coaching or my workouts or whatever. And, after you can kind of get over yourself in that way, I think the biggest thing for me is, with every year that goes by, I realize how much I don't know. And I think I'm settling into a point where I think I'm more approachable. I'm more willing to approach a coach and just have a conversation on, and kind of pick their brain and get their thoughts. And, I don't have to agree with them, or I'll have my opinion, but I'm comfortable with having those conversations. And even if I'm not of the same school of thought, just getting an understanding of why they do what they do. And, there's value in that, I feel. So that's probably my biggest difference in the last 12 years.
Yeah, I'd say just learning a lot of patience and holding people accountable. and getting people to buy into what you're selling. I think that's probably where I've grown the most.
Yeah, and sort of like what Floyd was saying, one thing I still don't grow about is I talked about the strength and conditioning thing, like the Instagram workouts and seeing people just do crazy stuff, poor technique. I've matured to the point where I just won't engage those conversations anymore. Like if I'm giving a talk or I'm, doing a presentation, then I'll give my opinion or a question to answer. But when I see somebody squat and barely bend their knees, or I see some crazy high intensity workout and the athletes are asking me about doing it, I don't blow my stack nearly as much as I used to, as frustrating as that is. Which Floyd and I used to love watching some of those crazy workouts people would do on Instagram and, well, YouTube back then. Instagram wasn't really around.
Instagram wasn't invented yet.
No. We were still under the old rules at that time. It was just phone calls and emails.
Yeah, texting I think was just starting to be a thing, but I don't think I used it.
Texting was 2013 was the first year. Before that, it was one phone call a week with a big 3-ring binder in front of you.
It's changed quite a bit since then, man.
I miss those days a little bit, though. Like, at this point, once you text a handful of, potential student athletes, they text you back. I mean, everybody has instant access to everybody. And it's overwhelming sometimes.
Yes. I think the one benefit, though, of this age is you can kind of connect with coaches a little sooner, because I know it's been a few kids just that I've been able to get just based off things I post on social media where, I connect with a coach where he like, man, it seemed like you got a good thing going. I got this kid, he won't be able to come here, but he may be a fit in your program, things like that. So that it kind of helps in that end, but it can be like a little overwhelming sometimes, like, chill the F out, bro. But that's just what you gotta deal with.
You get some of the kids that want to text you 50 times a day. You get some of the kids that just want to do their own thing. When I was getting recruited, I didn't like talking on the phone. So Kunle, my coach, I'll get, one phone call every few weeks after a big meet or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's way down. I remember, once a week calls, man. I don't even think I did any email correspondence. I don't even know if I had an email back in high school. If I did, I didn't use it. Like, hell,
no,
I mean, cell phone in high school.
For me, I went to the counselor's office and just got the big book with all the colleges in it, and that's where I decided where I was going to apply to. I'm like, I kind of like the South. Let me look at some Southern schools, and
yeah, man.
Now a kid just Googles everywhere.
Basically.
In the recruiting services, you get both the kids and the coaches get 50 emails a day.
I don't know. There's some good and bad with that too.
Yeah. I mean, there's some services that really take advantage of the kids. Some of the parents have been asking me, is it worth it for me to buy this premium membership and this and that? And I'm like, if you're this active already as a parent, don't waste your money. You're going to help your kid find a good school. Why would you spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars just for somebody to email on your kid's behalf?
I mean, I know a few people who it's not a recruiting service per se, but they just want to help kids, and they charge little or nothing one time, and and it's really more just educating the parents and connecting them. And the parents are so involved, what eventually happens is they just take over the process, which is the way it should be. The family should be, but
well, that's what I tell the parents. If one of those places ever reaches out to me, I'm like, I'm the one that's going to have a relationship with you and your son and daughter. That other person, as soon as they come to college, they're gone anyway. So I want to deal with you guys. I don't want to deal with somebody else.
Absolutely.
We utilize Instagram quite a bit. So so we can kind of cut out the middleman. We just try to find them on Instagram, shoot them a message, and reach out to them that way. I mean, the only problem is if you have someone that you want to talk to, and you know his name is John Smith or Emily Johnson, or you know something super basic, and there's like 2,000 that pop up, you can just kind of forget trying to get a hold of them. And I mean it's worked really well for us, so I totally recommend going that route. I feel like kids these days they're not on Facebook as much. Facebook is for quote unquote old people, so like their parents are on it, but the gram is where they're hiding out. You just gotta watch out. You gotta find the Rinsta and not the Finsta.
Definitely.
If you know what those are.
Yeah.
I reach out if they add the program, like if they add my program's account, because I have control of our Instagram. I haven't really actively looked for athletes, but it is something maybe I should look into a little bit more. But no, I've had Facebook since you needed the college account, when there was only a few colleges that would allow it. You guys remember that or no?
I do.
Yes.
You had to have the .edu or else you weren't allowed to have Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa Wesleyan didn't get it to 05, so we were late to the game of Facebook.
That's when I had it. It was when I was in grad school at St. Lawrence, 2005.
Yeah.
And it was like this big thing, and it had no features whatsoever.
None.
You had the
Your
wall, and that's it. I don't even think you could really put pictures up right when I first had it.
Oh.
You could have like a profile picture, and that was it.
You could join all those cool little groups and type in all of your likes and interests and hobbies
That's right.
in all those groups. Yeah, I was in quite a few track groups, like, you know, track fans of America, and I don't even know if they exist anymore. And then there was like stupid groups too. Like somebody in my undergrad made a group called the group that is going to try to get everyone on Facebook to poke Andy Hodge. Like, you guys remember pokes? You could poke someone.
Yeah, you would poke somebody.
Yeah. Super weird. Who thought of that idea?
I don't know. I'm waiting for Friendster to make a comeback. I'm keeping my account.
Oh, wow.
I'm holding out for Friendster. It's making a comeback.
Oh, wow.
Well, Timberlake bought MySpace after he was in the Facebook movie. If you had a MySpace, it's still up there. Like, I checked, my page is still there from 2002 or 3.
MySpace. Wow. It had the top 8.
Way back.
The one thing I do remember, sitting in my office, Brooke had this habit of just picking one song maybe per week and just playing it ad nausea over and over and over. I remember the one time it was Fat Bottom Girls by Queen, just on repeat for like 4 days straight.
Wow.
Just really focusing on squats that week. Wanted to get my mind right.
Oh, that's so silly.
Try to think of some of the other songs. Some of them were newer, but sometimes it would just be like a classic rock song for some reason you had in your head, and you just kept playing.
Yep, just over and over and over. Hope you like this song too, Greg.
Yeah, because those walls were thin, and my office was right next to yours. And I'm sitting there with my dirty jeans, just listening to the music through the walls.
Luckily, the smell did not go through the walls.
And the other thing I remember is the cafeteria had a little statue of a chef, and the hand was broken on it. And every time we would leave, Floyd would go, "Hey, it's Chubbs," trying to say it was Chubbs from Happy Gilmore.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Do you guys remember that indoor meet? I want to say it was at St. Olaf in Minnesota, and the bus broke down like an hour from Fort Dodge in Webster City. I think you guys were on the bus. D. Brown gives me a call, and he was like, "Hey, I need you to get the bus and come get us because the bus is broken." You guys remember this? It was indoor season.
I do remember.
So it was like the women's meet was Friday, and I think the men competed Saturday.
Yeah.
And so I get the bus, I save the day, we jammed the women's team into an undersized bus. And then I think Coach Astor had another bus, and then a bunch of the kids had to drive like the school cars to get to the meet. And then they stopped, I want to say like Clear Lake or Mason City or someplace to get food. And there was a fist fight on the bus.
Yes. Now I remember.
I remember.
Because I remember having the meeting, and then one of you had to drive them back after.
Yeah, so I had to take some of the girls back, and then one of the perpetrators, the fighters, back to Fort Dodge the next day. So I didn't even get to coach really at all.
I remember that.
Crazy. That was
And I
crazy.
remember there was one meet that I think we were trying to convince Dee to let us stop and get a hotel room because we were driving through Nebraska and it was like a blizzard. You remember that one? I can't remember where we're coming from.
I don't.
But it was like a blizzard and we were like, oh, we need a hotel. We're not going to survive. We were going like 15 miles per hour on the highway. And when you had those vans, if you remember, you would go under an underpass and as soon as you come out, the wind would just smack the van and just knock it sideways.
I remember D flying.
Yeah.
Through some of the worst conditions ever. Texting. Just texting and driving. Got the 35 passenger bus going. It's just
the most tired I was for that was Hutchinson for outdoor nationals. Because remember, I had to be there first thing for the multis. And then I was there all day long both days. And then it was what, like an 8-hour drive from Hutchinson, Kansas back, something like that?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
I just
Dude, I
remember
remember driving through Nebraska and I couldn't even see because of the rain. And D was flying like a bat out of hell. And he texted me, "You okay back there?" I'm like, "No." But nah, it was, I think I got lost, man. That dude used to have that bus on 2 wheels, man. I remember flying.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Remember flying through Oklahoma City, like a 4-bus caravan. Just, man.
Well, you guys talked me into getting a hotel when we were coming back from Colorado from the strength symposium.
And I lost my wallet at that hotel.
That's right.
They mailed it.
You didn't realize it until we were pulling back in to campus.
No, we went to Subway, man, and I went for my wallet. I'm like, fuck. Use my language, but yeah, left my wallet in Nebraska. It was a nice hotel though.
It was an econo lodge, and they gave us a suite for dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Because I remember you guys were just like, Greg, man, we got to stop. We got to sleep.
Sorry, Greg.
I mean, it didn't really matter. I was in the back sleep anyway. But, but.
And then Brooke would make inappropriate comments that I got a good price because I was romancing the woman that was working the night shift.
Hey, Greg, do what you got to do. Save that money.
Man, we benefited, man. Thanks, Greg. Took one for the team, buddy.
Yeah, I was younger back then. It's not true though.
You had many leather-bound books.
Okay, so back to the bus trip that had the fight. Do you guys remember when we had that meeting? That was, I feel like
I remember sitting in a room on the floor.
Yeah, in like a conference room.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody stood up and tried to, resolve the issue. And it wasn't somebody who was involved in the altercation. But he said something like, I got shorties, you got shorties, he got shorties. We all got shorties up in here.
Now that you say that, I remember that.
I remember that vividly. And I remember the guy who got sent home not accepting an apology, saying it was insincere. It was the fun. I mean, it wasn't funny, but it was funny, man.
Well, remember, Floyd, me and you we sat in the hallway.
We did. And it was like, oh,
Make
man.
sure there's no issues. We were out there
There was people
until
that came to our hotel. There was backup. There was muscle that came to our hotel flexing.
Yeah, they
we were
did.
in the hallway until what was it? It was like 1 or 2 in the morning.
1 or 2 in the morning. Every time we turned around, somebody was popping up.
We were doing room checks. Yeah.
Jeez. My G.
I still hear from some of those dudes. I haven't seen many. The last person I saw was Nee, who was a great kid, great long jumper. And I felt sad because he has no accent anymore. And I'm saying his name because he won't mind me saying his name. I've talked to him a bunch of times, but
he just graduated from law school too.
Yeah.
So
he made a trip convention the one year. I think you both were there, but you left the day before.
yeah.
He was down with his family on a vacation in Fort Lauderdale, and he actually took a trip up to see me in Orlando. It was really cool.
Last I saw Nee, he was I seen him at a track meet. He was helping out at the University of Chicago. I know he was getting ready to go to law school. But he lives not too far from St. Francis. So
Oh, really?
yeah. I know we were supposed to, when we were at Loyola for the coaches ed, we were supposed to meet up with him, but it didn't work out.
That's right, yeah.
Conflict.
I forgot you were there at Loyola for that.
Yeah.
We kept going to the barbecue place.
Yeah. No, you were the night before, like we were supposed to do presentations. They had like $1 beer or something. They had like $2 drafts and like $1 chicken fingers or something.
I stick with tea and water, so I don't know.
Yeah, man. You know, because I was commuting, man. I barely made it in time for my presentation. I'll say that.
Well, the head coach here at the time who was there with us, I just remember he's like, "Are you going over there?" I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Floyd's just there holding court." And I walk in, and Floyd's just sitting in the middle of like 6 people just talking.
Well, you know, man, because you know people with their study groups, but you know people from whenever. So, did I have a few? Another group comes in. Hey, come on down.
And you know, there's always 1 or 2 people in the group that think they know the better way to do it.
Yeah.
You've ran into that. It might have been at Loyola, where you had people in your group that didn't want to write the programs the way that the curriculum was teaching.
Yeah, man, you know.
Because you were in the sprint group, and they were like, "Oh, he's a throws guy. He doesn't know nothing about sprints."
Yeah, which, man, whatever. Well, you know.
We've dealt with that most of our career anyway. Remember the throwers thought that I hated the throwers at Iowa Central? You're like, "Yo, Schmidt's a discus thrower." Like,
I do, man. But, you know, you get that stuff. But, you know, I'm a track fan, though.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like track? You know, unless you're Clemson's AD, you know, other than him. But anyway.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you. There was a lot of. Well, go ahead.
Excuse me. Do you remember when we had outdoor regionals at Iowa Western? And we had one, I believe, both men and women. It was not close. There was only 3 schools in the region that had track at that time. I think it was Iowa Central, Iowa Western, Nyack.
Northern Iowa, maybe?
Yeah, Nyack.
Yeah.
And we were getting ready to leave. Most people are on the bus. I think this is when you guys were there. And my bus is like on E. And so I had to get out, and I'm like, I have to tell Coach Brown, like, I need gas immediately. So I get out of my bus, I find Coach Brown, and Coach Brown has his hands on a student athlete. And this kid is cussing and pointing and yelling. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And one of the distance girls comes up to me and she's like, oh yeah, that guy's really upset because someone's sitting in his seat. Y'all remember this?
I remember that because I got into it with that same student athlete earlier in the day. So I remember this vividly.
What I remember about that meet is they put the hurdles and the starting blocks at the wrong location for the 100s and 110s. So it was the wrong distance to the first hurdle, wrong distance to the finish. So the times were just all messed up. And they never ran it again. They just went. Because I was looking, I can't remember which athlete it was, but I just remember, like, why are they, like, stuttering going to the first? Why are there steps off? Why are they doing, like, 12 steps at the first? What's going on? And then found out, yeah, they put them at the wrong location. Ugh. Nobody's got anything? I got to pick all the topics.
I mean, I'm bringing back the throwback memories over here.
But I just remember the long bus rides,
Yeah.
flying through towns in a caravan. What else?
One thing I was really happy about there was, I don't know if you guys remember it, with pole vault, they only had, I think, one pole at the time because they never had any pole vaulters. So that's one thing that like I really learned a lot, was how to coach pole vault just by being forced to teach people how to do it. That and javelin were two events that really improved a lot at that point. So I mean, for me, that was a huge learning experience for me. And then just the whole recruiting piece of how to do mass recruiting like that. You know what I mean? Because I've been at some schools that are selective, some schools that aren't, and that was a place where it was just, no, let's talk to as many athletes as possible.
I think it was hard because so the places I had been at before had facilities on campus. So going to Iowa Central, you know, we had the ACE building, and I mean, it was figured out, like, it doesn't matter how cold it is. I mean, I'm sending mine outside to go running. Like, sorry, that's what we have to do. Distance runners have to run distance. And then I want to say for outdoor, we went over to Dodger Stadium, and I think, did we have practice like, was it 5 to 7? And then we had to haul back to the cafeteria, and then we had lifting after we ate.
Yeah.
We had, and it wasn't every day. That was only a couple days a week. We actually got to Dodge Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember having to put out the rollout runways crisscross in the ACE to get some form of speed endurance work in, or speed development in. Like trying to run diagonals just because it was a sport court floor for like volleyball. So you had to put that on top. And then basically doing long jump landings on the high jump hits every day.
I remember with the throwers though, the thing with Dodger Stadium is like the throwing area was like on a baseball field. So it was like by the time we got out there, by the time the field was clear, you know, it was basically time to turn around and come back. So we used to just we got to the point we only had practice behind the ACE, you know, and, you know.
I still have the videos of me and you throwing from there.
When I tried to trace a circle, but I think I put like a 35-pound plate in the middle, and then I measured out, like, you know, I had some yarn or whatever, and I was just going to walk around in a circle, but the weight moved on me. So the center kept moving. So we ended up with like this 10-foot circle. It was pretty ridiculous, man. It was pretty ridiculous. But
I remember because it was a big concrete slab.
Yeah.
And we would throw javelin from like kind of behind that onto the grass, didn't we?
Yeah. Yep. We actually threw it from like each corner, like just depending on the day. Like when it was dry, we would be like in the corner on the grass. If it was wet, like they had that, it was like the concrete slab, and we would actually start from like the parking lot, the church parking lot.
That's right.
Just going into the landing area. So, I mean, we definitely were creative, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've said. Like even here, you know, I don't have a facility, we rent facilities, but if you know your events and you know your sports, you can, you know, make adjustments and get it to work. Is it going to be as good as having everything possible that you need? No, but Brooke has it easy. She just got to run. You just have to run outside.
Oh, run outside.
That's what I said. Run outside.
Yep, run outside, no problem. Oh, it's windy. It's -20. Cool. Another layer on. Didn't we have like a just discus meet where you guys threw?
Yeah, we threw it at that one school behind my apartment.
St. Edmund, what was that? St. Edmund?
St. Edmunds?
Something like that.
Is that where it was? Yeah.
Because it was like an asphalt track, and then there was a small circle over by a grass field.
It was like, I don't know what that cage was. That was like a dog kennel. They had to move the cage off because it was so low. But like we went out there.
It was low and it was close to the back of the circle. So your
Yeah.
right foot coming out of the back would hit it.
Yeah.
So I think we just like turned it upside down or
Yeah,
something
we
like
just
that.
took it off, man. I still got it's some videos on Facebook with that.
Yeah,
man.
I have them too, I think. I have that and I have us training.
Those are good
I
times.
don't have us lifting anymore. Used to have videos of us lifting.
Wow.
You should make like a Rocky montage of you and Floyd lifting. I think that would get a lot of views.
No, I was strong back then. It'll just make me embarrassed.
You can say I used to be strong.
Oh, I'm old and broken now.
Same.
Can't dunk anymore, Floyd?
F no. Oh man, I'm stuck to the ground, bro. I'm stuck.
Not going to be like, who was the guy from And One? Escalade?
Escalade. No, not Escalade.
Or
Man.
there was Tractor Trailer, the big guy that was played for Michigan years ago.
Yeah, man. No more dunking, man. I think, it had to be a year ago. I was working out with one of my former throwers from St. Francis. And we play basketball just to kind of get some cardio sometimes. And I didn't even try to dunk. I just went up for a layup and came down, and I was like just hurting for like 2 weeks, man. Like the ballistic stuff, yeah, it had its day.
I'm too stubborn. Like if an athlete challenges me, I'm still going to try to do something.
Yeah,
I still got to show like if a single arm snatch or something like that, I still got to do it just to show off. But
yeah,
I end up hurting for 3
every
weeks.
now and again. I squat every now and again as a challenge. Any jumping? No more, sir. No more. Hopefully, I just find somebody who can remember. I jump 5. My vertical goes up 5 inches every year. Every time I tell kids about it.
You got
I think I'm at
49-inch vert
about
by now?
55 now. Yeah, I think I'm at about a 55-inch vertical. Yeah. I can't wait till I hit the 60-inch mark. Jumping 5 feet off the ground. Yep.
You might as well
we
go
were trained.
high jump then, Floyd. Show them how it's done.
Well, I would, but you can't jump off 2 feet in high jump, man. Oh man.
Just see the foam just come out of the mats.
I hurt my back just landing flat on the ground. Foam just everywhere shooting out the side. Somebody gets knocked over by the foam running on the track. Yeah, it's bad.
We were pretty fast at that point, though. We were doing sprint workouts early on. Like we were training pretty good.
Oh yeah. Oh no, we had some good stuff going, dude. We used to sprint. We used to
Med ball throws.
Med ball throws, squats. It was pretty fun, man. So
I was telling Brooke, I've been watching some of your videos. You got the Turner lineage happening with your kids throwing out too.
Yeah, man. They just need something to do in the summer. We'll see if they take to it. I think my oldest daughter kind of takes to it, and I think, if she wants to, she'll be pretty special. But that's just up to her. But it's that and volleyball. But I prefer volleyball just because I get to just be dad. I just sit in the, but being coach dad is funny. But I tell you what, she takes all the coaching like a champ. It's surprising, but I can tell her to wash the dishes and she'll break down and cry. It's just funny. But I can coach her pretty hard and she'll just, be fine. It's really weird. Really weird.
So volleyball is good, but watching her throw discus, you'll notice every little thing she's doing.
I mean, that, and it's just kind of stressful because you like the parent and the coach. Whereas volleyball, I just go, I watch, I talk to the other parents, and it's like, hey, did you have fun? Good game? And, much more enjoyable experience, So, but I mean, I do enjoy coaching my kids. I mean, so, but if I could have
all
him,
three of us, I think, still competed a little bit when we were coaching there. Brooke ran steeplechase, I know, a couple times. I think it was at the Loris meet.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that goes to another story.
Yeah, I know what you're going to talk about. I have 2 stories from that meet, but go ahead.
All right. And that's also going to lead into another story. It always goes back to the buses. But yeah, you know, I went to go park the bus, and Coach Martin was telling me to choose my eyes, and she was like, yeah, keep coming, back up, back up, back up. And I'm like, I don't know, Angie. I think there's a car back there. She's like, no, you good, you know, keep backing up. And then I definitely like hit a vehicle, just touched it, parked, ran my race, and then the cops were waiting for me
Oh
at the
wow.
end of my race. And I had a conversation with them, and I did have a ticket, but you know, there was like some paint maybe on the person's vehicle, but that was it. There was no dent, there was no major damage, like you just rub it off. So it could have been way worse, but I'd like to say Angie Martin, yeah, she did not help me out very much at all when I was trying to back up, and I took the fall for that. And then also, do you guys remember, I think we went to a last chance meet at North Central, and this is very bad. And the meet went pretty late, and we were trying to get out of there. And I drove the bus around half circle, and I got the back end of the bus hung up on like a
Yes.
rock. And this was bad. This was pretty bad. And I think we had to hire like a tow truck or something that had to like get like a hitch or whatever to like actually lift the back end of the bus up off of the rock.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was also, and I also remember Greg saying something like, wouldn't it be epic if I just lifted the back of the bus up off of this? And I'm like, okay, Greg, yeah, you go ahead and do that, bud.
Now, I don't know if you remember, Greg, that weekend, you guys went to North Central, but I took some kids to Augie, okay? And the night before, you know, we went and had a few soda pops. And, you know, all I can say is I believe that led to me detailing the HHR, you know, the next day.
Yeah, I won't explain it any more than that, but I had some cleaning to do inside my car.
You know, luckily for me, there was a lot of adverse weather conditions at Augie because we were definitely very late to the meet. And, you know, I believe because of lightning, we probably got delayed maybe an hour and a half. And I actually threw in that meet. I was actually able to, you know, get back to homeostasis, as they would say. By the time we competed. So, yeah, my young coaches out there, you know, get some sleep the night before these meets, you know.
No, what I thought Brooke was going to talk about the Loris meet, remember, the lights in the stadium went out before the 4x4. Okay. And they had to run it in the dark.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, they had to run the 4x4 in the dark. And I remember I couldn't let Nee long jump because he just did a pop-up, and their pit was so short, he jumped over the pit. And behind Loris's pit was a fence. And I was worried that he would just jump out of the pit and hit the fence. Hopefully they've fixed that at this point.
They've made some updates over there.
Well, that was the thing. Like you said, it was just, that's what I remember a lot too, is what Floyd said, is just the driving, because there wasn't a lot of tracks very close to us. Northern Iowa was probably the closest trip we would have.
I think BV maybe. BV was like
Buena Vista, yeah.
70 minutes. UNI was like an hour and a half. Iowa State was an hour.
That's true.
Where we were going, it was far. The places were far. Jeez. Decorah, jeez. Oh my goodness. Going to Luther. This is like a
Luther wasn't too bad. We both threw in that one because they did a 2K steeple indoors, didn't they?
I don't remember.
Luther?
Yeah, I think they did.
Do you remember it was like was that spring break or whatever it was? It was like the first outdoor meeting. We drove to Tulsa. And kids are being knuckleheads, and we have a meeting and D makes this announcement like, any more problems, we're driving back tonight. And I wanted to say no, that we're not driving back tonight.
Yeah, because I think we went to like an outlet mall or something, didn't we? I think it was at Oklahoma State or someplace.
That was we went to the outlet mall on the way. But I know when we got in town, like we got to the hotel, it was just all type of issues from the front desk, like the kids, like just doing knucklehead stuff, being loud and whatnot. And I think we had a meeting about that. And I'm just like, no, the F, we aren't driving back. like the caravan will be a bus short. That's what I was thinking in my head, but. Luckily,
that might have been our farthest trip. I'm trying to think of what our farthest trip was. That or Hutchinson, I would think.
The farthest was Lubbock, but we didn't drive. We had a drive on the island. 22 long hours, baby.
Was that 22 hours?
22 hours.
Did we stop halfway? I don't remember.
We stopped on the way back. I remember. I don't know about going. I really don't remember. I want to say, no, one of them trips we stopped in, no, that might have been a spring break. It was one of them trips we stopped in Coffeyville on the way. I just can't remember. They all run together,
That's right.
But
I do remember, I forgot completely about it till you said it. It was like my first or second day at Iowa Central. And we were setting up for a home cross-country race, or it might have been the time trial, actually. And
I bet it was, yeah.
And trying to keep up with D as he's winding through the roads to get there.
Driving that cardboard box with wheels, man. I was terrified of driving the buses after driving the van. But the buses were way better. But I'm like, holy,
the buses were more stable.
Yeah. But I thought I was gonna blow off the road driving that cardboard box with wheels. I refused to call it a van. But
I remember doing the driving test for the bus too, where you had to like back up in lane.
Yeah.
Because we did it over by the mall, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So, what are your guys' plans for the holiday season? Nothing. This.
Hanging out with the kids, man. That's about it. Baking and any other indoor activity. But
this is the longest I've been not going to a track meet in a while, because I went to one of New Jersey's cross-country meets to see some recruits. But, for us, I've said to a bunch of people, the practices are the fun part for us. That's where like we can kind of de-stress and relax. Yeah. So not for me, at least, not being able to work with the kids, that's rough, because then it's just all the other stuff,
Well, we were fortunate enough. We had fall practice, so that was nice. But I like practice. The thing for me is just keeping the kids motivated, because typically, since I've been at St. Francis, we typically go first or second week of December. So the kids are always looking forward to that meet, It's kind of their, reward for a good fall practice, just competing. And not having that carried over their head is kind of finding ways to keep the motivation, For the older athletes, it's really not an issue, but the younger ones, they going through transitions anyway, especially the freshmen. So that's kind of that unknown. So that's probably the biggest difference. But we always want more time during the season for ourselves because, you know, we spending so much time, you know, doing all these things. But shoot, I kind of miss, you know, being busy as I was normally. So
I'm going to miss convention. You know, I'm disappointed when there's no convention this year. It was Colorado too.
Definitely, man.
It was Denver.
You know, socializing is a little bit different than the altitude. I'll just say that.
Never been to Denver. Then next year's back in Orlando.
Yeah. I would have liked to go to Denver. I would have liked to go on to Denver this December. So that's definitely weird too. Like, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually fun. We have the Bowerman Award. We have all that other stuff, you know, talk some coaches' ears off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
definitely that. But I've been watching a lot of Zoom meetings and podcasts and participating in a few myself.
I've been trying to coach over Zoom. I'm not sure if you saw any videos I've been posting on it of trying to teach the Olympic lifts over Zoom. It's frustrating.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel like, is it helping you develop your verbal feedback? Like not being able to do any demonstration or have any live contact?
It changes what I focus on sometimes because some things I'm not going to be able to convey. Like I've been doing FaceTime or Zoom.
Yeah.
And if somebody's in person, I can kind of go through a slower process, but I'm not going to be able to be there 5 days a week to teach them that stuff.
Right.
So for me, I stuck with a lot of the pulls for the Olympic lifts just to keep it simple for a little while and then move it on to a little bit more of the lifts. Because you know, every athlete's going to say, hey, I know how to clean. I know how to snatch when they really don't. So they're going to be like, oh, no, just give me the workouts. And then I have to insist, no, we need to set up Zoom meetings to do this. Yeah. So if they can just not pull with their arms, if they can keep the bar close, that's the main things I'm focusing on right now for it.
Yeah. The reason why I asked, I mean, really just as I get old and age, you know, I can still demonstrate some, but I'm talking more about throws. But one thing about learning to teach the Olympic lifts, especially, you know, when you struggle with some mobility issues yourself, like you really, really learn to improve like some of your verbal cueing. Because, you know, as a young coach, for me at least, it was always easy to just do it this way. What do you mean? I demonstrate, but I've tried to get away from that. I mean, I'll still do some demonstration, but I've tried to get away from that as I age. But I was just curious to see your thoughts on, you know.
No, it definitely makes sense. I don't try to demonstrate the full thing. I'll demonstrate, you know, like the starting position. I'll demonstrate setting your knees back off the floor, you know, stuff like that. But the lifts are so complicated of a movement that I can't just do it and then say, okay, do that. I have to break it down, you know, okay, let me see you do a front squat properly. Okay, you can't do that properly, then there's no point to moving into anything else until we can focus on that. So sometimes I'll change the programming for that. Some athletes I'm probably going to have to keep with just pulls for quite a while.
Yeah. Absolutely. Interesting, man.
And again, Brooke has it easy. You can just run.
Just run. It's that simple. Just run, one foot in front of the other. Keep going.
When was the last time you ran and competed? I know you had a couple injuries there.
I did a road race St. Patrick's Day weekend. So that was like right when COVID was starting to ramp up, like in America. Like things weren't quite closed here in Iowa. And then after that, everything, you know, stopped or canceled, virtual. I really don't have any motivation to do a virtual race. Like that's just paying to go do a workout, I feel like. So that was the last time.
I did a 22-kilometer hike for fundraising, and that was not fun. I mean, it was cool afterwards, but I also had 2 recruits on campus that afternoon at different times. And so I tried to really go fast with it through the woods and through the mountains. And I remember sitting down talking to a recruit and then trying to stand up, and my legs just didn't want to. But all right, we've been talking for quite a while, so you can probably roll it up here. One cool thing, though, is, I mean, it's rare that, first of all, a coaching staff gets along well right off the bat as soon as they move in. But then the other thing, like, people that still are passionate about the sport and stay in it, and, that's getting more and more rare, where people just kind of treat it as something to do, like Floyd was saying, almost as a hobby, just starting and doing it that way and then getting out of the profession. So, all right, guys. No parting words or last thoughts, Jerry Springer style?
Oh man, it was nice reminiscing on some of those times back in good old Fort Dodge, man.
Mm-hmm. The times.
I don't have the energy anymore to do that drive. Like when I drove from Philly to Fort Dodge, there was it 19 hours for me, I think?
The things
and then for Christmas, flying into that tiny Fort Dodge airport.
Plane landed sideways.
Yep. Big propeller on it. I didn't even know they still made planes with propellers.
Flew in on a crop duster, man.
And then if there was only 5 people on the plane, they had to place you in certain seats just to balance it out. They couldn't have everybody on one side. They had to balance everything out.
It's wild.
And then my suitcase got lost once there. I remember that.
Wow.
All right, guys. Well, we can do this again sometime, especially, figure this would make up for the fact we won't see each other at convention. Last year, Brooke and I were there. Floyd, I know you weren't, but
yeah.
Probably last time we saw you was 2 years ago at convention, right?
2 years ago? What was that, San Antonio? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that where you and Brooke were roommates?
No, that was Orlando.
That was Orlando. Oh my God.
Jeez.
When you had to tell Floyd it was time to leave.
Listen, I was working the room, man.
You were doing great, and I was ready to leave you, Floyd. Shoot. Get in the damn car. I want to go
I just
to
remember
bed.
sitting and Floyd's talking, and Brooke's ready to go to sleep because they had the same ride.
Listen,
Brooke's just like,
yeah, because I was the ride. I was the driver.
When I get full of that libation, the philosophizing intensifies, man.
I just remember Brooke just like, Floyd, we need to go. And he's like, oh, for real?
It's like 3 a.m. Come on, Floyd. We're going to the car.
I like when I hit Schmidt, I'm like, so. He's like, oh, here goes philosophical Floyd.
Yep, that's all I was about to say. I call him philosophical Floyd. Where he's just like, no, seriously. He just says seriously about 10 times. No, but seriously. And then he just starts telling his story.
Good times.
Oh, man. Y'all take it easy, man. It was good catching up, man. I hope your internet gets fixed, bro.
Actually held up pretty good after that first
You did
hiccup.
get back on track. You did get back
First
on
hiccup.
We were worried for a minute there.
Same.
All right, guys. Take care. And, we'll do this again soon.
All right, guys, man.